The Self-Care Learning and Discovery Series is back, and it's bigger and bolder than ever. This is the premier self-care event of the year, bringing together self-care enthusiasts of all backgrounds and disciplines from around the world. The World Health Organization defines self-care as the ability of individuals, families, and communities to promote health, prevent disease, maintain health, and to cope with illness and disability with or without the support of a healthcare provider. We also know that self-care means different things to different people. What does self-care mean to you? You'll have ample opportunity to reflect on this question during the Discovery Series, with more than 20 interactive virtual sessions organized by self-care experts worldwide. The Discovery Series will elevate cutting-edge research, programming, and advocacy insights across a wide variety of self-care topics, and we encourage you to attend as many sessions as possible, especially on topics that may be new to you. The Self-Care Learning and Discovery Series, a core activity of the Self-Care Trailblazer Group, is organized by the White Ribbon Alliance in partnership with co-sponsor organizations and esteemed steering committee members. We also want to thank all our session organizers and presenters who have voluntarily dedicated their time to curate this event with us. We are pleased to share that every session will offer live, simultaneous interpretation in French, Spanish, and English. To access the interpretation, simply navigate to your meeting controls located at the bottom of your screen. Click on the globe icon labeled Interpretation and select the language you'd like to hear. Joining from your phone, tap on the ellipses to find the interpretation feature and then select your language. Please note, you can switch languages at any time throughout the presentation. The session is now about to begin. Don't forget, whether you're working to influence policies or programs, advance universal health coverage, or improve your own self-care, we hope that you will take the learnings from today's discussion and apply it to your own work. To that end, we invite you to continue the conversation and take action with us by becoming a member of the Self-Care Trailblazer Group. So get curious, jump in, and share your ideas and insights with us. We look forward to advancing self-care together.
Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everybody. It's our pleasure to invite you all to this session on knowledge sharing between Latin America and the US to develop person-centered, community, and rights-based digital abortion self-care solutions. I am co-founder and executive director of Vitala Global, which is a Canadian tech not-for-profit that is focused on co-creating digital solutions to support women and girls living in challenging contexts around abortion, contraception, and a miscarriage. And I just want to bring in my co-host, James Estrada from Planned Parenthood Federation, to introduce himself and welcome you all here today.
Thank you so much, Rupan, and thank you so much for joining us this morning or whatever time it may be for you. I'm James Estrada, he, him pronouns. I work at Planned Parenthood Federation of America. Sorry, I'm Associate Director of Innovation on our small and mighty innovation team there. In my work, I scan market and startup trends in the reproductive healthcare space and beyond. Our team makes investments in partnerships like the partnership that we have with Vitala and their Aya Contigo product to advance health equity and most importantly, center BIPOC founders and BIPOC communities and underserved communities throughout the United States, especially in this moment of challenges to abortion access in the United States. Vitala has been an excellent partner in that space, and we're so glad to expand this conversation with all of you.
So today, we just want to first of all start off with some housekeeping things. So please introduce yourself in the chat box. So your name, your organization, the country you're from, give us your LinkedIn, your email address, because this is all about connecting with one another and connecting with us as the moderators and the speakers for today's session. Remember that this meeting is going to be recorded and keep yourself muted unless speaking. You can also, as it was already shared in the initial introduction, make sure you're in the right interpretation channel for the language that you would like to be in for the session. Use the chat box if you would like to make a question or build upon a point that's made throughout the session today. You can raise your digital hand when you would like to speak in the breakout rooms. And of course, this is an open space. We want to be provocative. We're going to be asking questions. We're going to be discussing, sharing some of our knowledge, but we also want you all as the audience to participate and provide your own feedback and ideas and thoughts on this. So stay curious and stay engaged. So I think we're moving on to our mentee. I'm going to hand it off to James here.
Okay, so this first activity, we're just going to ask you to go to this Menti website, or you can use a QR code with your phone, and really be able to input some of your thoughts, some of your opening ideas and reactions to this question. We want to just get a word cloud going. And so take out your phone, use that QR, go to menti.com and enter the code 57050756. The question here, and you can just input whatever comes to mind, is how has the green wave impacted and benefited access to safe abortion in the United States? You may not have a immediate response, but give it a second and think about this if you haven't thought about the direction of influence that the green wave may or may not have had in the United States. The answer may be not, right, to you, but we really just want to hear from your point of view. What are you seeing, and what do you maybe hope to see? I'll wait for responses, and they will show up as they come in from the website. I'll read them out, but I'm going to give you a second. I'm excited to hear what you think. I'll be reading them out slowly as they come in, and there'll be many. It puts Dobbs in sharp contrast with its neighbors and hopefully will be a source of strategies for pro-SRHR movements in the United States. The strategies component. It's interesting. Provide more access to abortion pills. More and more women and orgs are learning from advocates in their countries. The Green Wave can share lessons learned. More people who can become pregnant. I lost that one. Learn from the Green Wave movement and the importance of community-led solutions in restrictive settings. Solutions for Spanish-speaking populations in the United States. That's an interesting one. Enabling a public conversation about abortion in the streets. What else are we seeing? Those are definitely some really, really strong ones. I appreciate that a lot. Another question, what are some of the challenges in cross-border innovations for safe abortion? So thinking about first the opportunities, and what are some of the hard things? What are some of the difficult things that we might have to do in this space, or some of the things that you would like to do in your work across borders in different parts of the world, not just in Latin America, but what are the things that might come up in sharing those lessons learned, strategies or tactics that maybe come from the Green Wave that are working, things like talking about abortion in the streets, things like community-centered strategies. Those are things that people brought up at first. Differences in legal risk. That's really important. Legal risk, criminalization, prosecution. Being our own worst enemy by saying, that won't work where I live. As an innovation professional, one of the first things you hear is that it doesn't work for me. And we have to move beyond that first reaction and think about that with more complexity. That's a great thing to bring up. Limited understanding of regulations by U.S. activists because of a reliance on American medical systems and limited travel. Being able to access medication for vulnerable communities. not getting the pills into the hands of pregnant people. Discomfort with informal methods of care. That's a really important one to think about. Challenging the belief or talking point. You can't compare the situation because it's a different context. These are very interesting. As with any cross-border or international conversation, there's a lot of history, complexity involved. That's such an interesting thing to continue to bring up here. The sense of not being in horizontal collaborations. Yes, not being able to see parity, but flipping from one to the other is really important, but thinking as partners rather than teacher and learner. Only got about 1 more minute on this exercise. Maybe we scroll down a little bit on this screen. Is that possible? People in the US who use green wave imagery but don't realize it didn't originate in the United States. That's interesting. Being able to give credit where credit is due. I love these points so much. And I think we're just about out of time for this exercise, but I hope it got you in the mindset of where we want you to be. We'll continue this conversation with our panelists.
Amazing. So we're now moving into the first part of our session, which is going to be sort of a fireside chat. We have two really amazing panel discussion questions that we're going to highlight. And the first panel will be on the green wave movement's impact on access to safe abortion in the United States, which will be moderated by myself. And I am so pleased and excited about our panelists and also actually all the people and the speakers who are involved today with both our panels and the breakout rooms. So we have Dr. Genevieve Tam, who is co-founder and director of projects and chief operating officer at Vitala Global. She's my partner in crime, and she's graciously stepped in as we had one person not able to make today's session. And we have Daniela Teles, executive director of Di Ramona. And Daniela is a passionate, fat activist, feminist, bisexual, focused on abortion accompaniment, mixing my Spanish and English. Danny's space in Hidalgo in Mexico is absolutely amazing. So really grateful for her to be in this space with us today. Sandra Cardona is co-founder of Red Necesito Abortar. She's a defender of human, sexual, and reproductive rights. And she recognizes herself as a social feminist and has been doing this work for over 20 years. And she's the co-founder of Voces de Mujeres en Acción. And so we're really excited for her to be here today with us. And finally, Luna Borges, who is the associate director at Voz Feminista. She's a Brazilian feminist activist and lawyer and has had over 13 years of experience in public interest work with the focus on social justice. So we're going to go to our next slide. And the next, let's maybe go right into our panel. So we're just going to spotlight our panelists before we get started here with our questions. Just going to wait till we have, there we go, like get everybody on board here into our fireside chat energy. Just imagine that behind us is a fireplace with warmth. This conversation is going to be warm yet provocative. Just waiting for Daniela to be in the field as well here. Perfect. And me, I think. Perfect. All right. So thank you, panel number one. So we're going to start off a question. It's going to go to all of you. And I would like actually Daniela to start with this. So from your experience, Danny, from your experience and perspective, tell us a little bit about how, from your vantage point and being in Mexico, has the green wave movement in Latin America and the Caribbean impacted? So both positive and negative. We want to hear both, access to safe abortion in the United States. So this is going to be a question for all of you. We're going to have Danny start, and then we'll pass it on. Go for it.
Thank you, Rupan. Oh, I think that the impact of the green wave is very, very wide. When we start talking about the green wave and recognize the colors, recognize the scarf, recognize all of the amazing advancements that it can come with the green wave. So may I speak a little bit of Spanish during my...
Sí, sí, because we have the
Perfect.
translation, so go for it. Speak
Thank
in
you.
español. Yeah, yeah.
Perfect. Creo que el avance que ha tenido la marea verde ha sido muy significativo debido a cómo le ha brindado una identidad al movimiento, tener los pañuelos verdes, reconocernos en las calles, poder visibilizarnos más allá de a lo mejor los espacios que eran muy cerrados y dentro de una burbuja muchas veces, el poder ver a las mujeres con los pañuelos en las calles, con todo en las marchas, definitivamente generó un impacto muy visible en cuanto al movimiento de aborto que antes no teníamos. No sabíamos que esto existía, pero no nos podíamos reconocer a simple vista. Inclusive el poder haber llegado a públicos más jóvenes en redes sociales, con todo el avance de las tecnologías y las redes sociales, la marea verde impactó en muchísimos lados. Algo maravilloso que yo también veo es que no solo unificó el movimiento a nivel Latinoamérica, sino que ha cruzado fronteras en Estados Unidos, en Canadá, en Europa. Ver que los movimientos en Asia también están teniendo el pañuelo verde es la verdad algo súper conmovedor y maravilloso, ¿no? Eso en todo el lado positivo. En el lado negativo podríamos pensar que la marea verde de repente como que a veces esta idea de unificación pierde de vista la diversidad de contextos en los que podemos encontrarnos, ¿no? Y que no siempre es tan fácil que un movimiento se amplifique a veces de formas un poco más faltas de escucha de las personas que viven en determinados contextos, ¿no? Entonces, creo que eso podría ser lo negativo, pero también creo que hasta esa parte negativa tiene un lado positivo y es el hecho de que está generando discursos cada vez más valientes, cada vez más atrevidos, cada vez más... formas innovadoras de ingresar al movimiento y de llevar el acceso al aborto a rincones donde antes jamás nos hubiéramos imaginado que llegaría, ¿no? El hecho de que ahora hay hasta chatbots, que hay aplicaciones como Ella Contigo, me parece una cuestión que no podemos perder de cuenta porque nos está llevando a rincones inimaginables que está hace pocos años.
Thank you so much, Danny. And I would love if Luna, you could just step in here and kind of build upon what Danny was saying, but also from the vantage point of FOS Feminista. You know, you work more in like this global realm, but you're also really connected with local organizations. So please do share with us where you've seen sort of the positive and negatives around the green.
Thank you, Rupan. And my intervention would be really connected to what Daniela said, because I think the question tries to compare the landscape of abortion access in 33 countries to one, the US. And the green wave in Honduras is quite different from how it has been strengthened in Brazil, the country I live in, for instance. And as well, in the same way, the US is also such a diverse country. And I would love to hear from folks from If, When, How, for instance, on their latest report, updating information about the criminalization of self-care in different states. So, but it's unquestionable that the Marea Verde, the green wave, is a transnational and one could even say, as Daniela pointed out, a transregional movement. And it has advanced a lot. And it has shown, mostly after Dobbs, that there is a geopolitical shift underway, that the United States is not only the reference point, is not the only reference point for activists and movements. And we have a lot of hope for what the Green Wave has achieved in countries and cross-regionally. And I think it can bring a lot of innovation for abortion rights struggles, including in the US. So recognizing this change in landscape, I think there are three ideas or maybe strategies that the Green Wave has had as an impact across boards in the US as well. First, I think it showed the importance of ongoing multi-directional collaborations. Even in Latin America, for instance, we have Honduras, in which Congress changed the country's constitution to make it almost impossible to legalize abortion. And we have Colombia, where Causa Justa and other groups have petitioned and managed to decriminalize abortion in 2022 up until 24 weeks. And the movements have shown that there's nothing set in stone, and they have been collaborating amongst each other to not only decriminalize abortion, but ensure compliance with the rulings, guided by the work they have been coordinating across diverse and new actors. Secondly, I think some movements in the US, they have seen other ways of engaging and framing abortion advocacy inspired in the Green Wave. For instance, abortion criminalization in the Global South is considered unconstitutional because a health need cannot be dealt by the police or the penal code. So this is a really good framing for intersecting struggles, strengthening reproductive justice debates, etc., at least in comparison with a more traditional perspective in the US that focuses on privacy. And I think I would also mention too, just to finalize, movements that comprise the Green Wave have shown that it's crucial to connect advocacy and access. They're not separate, and they can't be if you're putting women and girls and gender diverse people at the center of your work. So movements have documented barriers in access to expand interpretation of legal exceptions, for instance, or decriminalize abortion altogether. So laws are important, but never enough, and the movements leading the Green Wave have known this for a long time. This also means that organizations entered the field of policy regulation. Causa Justa, which I just mentioned, was one of the actors that supported the ministry to develop regulations for how to strengthen comprehensive abortion care, leading to the approval in January 23 of the Resolution 051 issued by the Ministry of Health, which updated technical guidelines for abortion provision, improved regulatory provisions on abortion, and expanded legal abortion to add different models of self-care also. And finally, changing the conversation about how abortion is framed as a public health issue. So several of the countries have had legal exceptions for a long time, and movements have shown the importance of socially decriminalizing abortion to break the stigma against abortion and help people understand the realities of women, girls, when they are faced to carry an unwanted pregnancy. And specifically about self-care, I think movements have shown the importance, and this may resonate in the US as a somewhat challenging effort to implement the importance of implementing digital and telehealth solutions in hotlines to offer information on self-managed abortion, capacity building for accompaniment networks, including knowledge exchange on how to provide accompaniment for migrants, women in prison, and self-care for activists. And thirdly, strengthening cross-border solidarity and learning, including by working with accompaniment networks on the border with the United States and connecting women and other pregnant people with accompagners in clinics in Mexico for late-term abortion. I think those are kind of impacts. They are positive, but at the same time, they are quite challenging.
Thank you. That was so great. And I think it's a really nice segue into Jen. If you can just expand on a little bit about Luna was saying, especially what she said about implementation of digital and telehealth, and maybe share a little bit about our own learnings of doing the work in Venezuela and the cross-border opportunities and challenges that we have faced in bringing our solution to the US. So go for it.
Thank you. It's very humbling to be on this panel with women working in this space and part of the GREW movement in advancing reproductive rights in the Global South for so long. Vitala is a Canadian organization. Both Rupan and I are Canadians. So when we started to look at how we can support the marginalized populations in the Latinx community in the US, we were very, very open and humble about we're not used to being in the American space. And one thing that is very different from our work in Venezuela is that we understand the medicalization, how things work in North America through the formal system. In Venezuela, we were able to do this work from the framing of the Green Wave movement of using harm reduction as a way to access safe abortion tools and support. And we learned about these feminist accompanying groups that we know have existed, and we realized that we need to model our digital solution around this model of care, because this is the model of care that is person-centered and what people need and want, and then also can transcend not only access issues, but around advocacy and policy, as Luna mentioned. So we really made sure that our digital solution integrated this holistic model of care to be able to provide access and support to people needing access to abortion in restrictive settings. And so through this learning, when we entered the US as doctors, we had to really convince other doctors and providers that self-managed abortions is safe, and that women and people who are pregnant can be empowered to self-manage their care. And even though WHO has guidelines around this, leveraging the work that we've done in Venezuela, leveraging the decades of experience of the Green Wave movement and all the accompaniment models in Latin America helped us to really share that story for the providers and the different ecosystem, reproductive rights ecosystem folks that we've spoken to, that this can be a safe model that can be introduced, and we need to bring the power back to women in communities, and because the restrictions are happening, and this is how it has been working in Latin America successfully. So the wins in South America and that happened after Roe helped also to highlight that this movement is successful and working, and we just need to focus on that and how we can bring that knowledge transfer to the United States and start again from the ground up, start again with connecting communities, talking and connecting, for more having horizontal collaborations like mentioned in Amenti, and really again centering the women, the pregnant person, and what is needed for them to have reproductive autonomy and safe access.
Thank you. Beautiful. Because I asked him my question, I said, give the positive and the negative, but you guys are giving a lot of hope, which is great, because I think that highlights that what we've learned from the Green Movement, that there's a lot of potential. So Sandra, please share with us, the work that you have done at the grassroots level as an acompañante, and in kind of complementing what Danny has shared, what Luna has shared, and Jen, would love to hear from you, your perspective of what you've been doing in Mexico, but then what happened when the Dobbs decision happened.
Claro, muchas gracias por habernos considerado, por habernos tomado en cuenta. Yo considero que el movimiento precisamente de la Marea Verde, este movimiento de aborto en América Latina, no solo está permeando en Estados Unidos, sino ya nos ha tocado a nosotras como parte de nuestro trabajo. Por ejemplo, capacitar a compañeras de Italia, donde se está formando ya una colectiva para que puedan también tener el aborto en su casa, donde en Italia pues eso no se permite, pero ellas muy aventadas lo van a hacer. Entonces, eso me encanta, y no solamente en Estados Unidos, hemos estado trabajando con colectivas, con redes que se han estado capacitando. Entonces vemos que la Marea Verde, como dice Dani, esto va más a nivel internacional, es un movimiento de acompañantes, es el poder compartir que se pueden tener abortos en casa, porque las mujeres y las personas gestantes podemos tener más de un aborto de manera segura, privada. Es algo que muchas personas lo están ahorita, por ejemplo, me ha tocado platicar con compañeras de Estados Unidos que me han dicho, es que todo se maneja en el hospital, no sé acompañar. Bueno, pues vamos a generar acciones para que aprendan lo que es el acompañamiento. Y esto yo creo que es una de las cosas de verdad más fuertes que se ha logrado. Que sepan las mujeres, las personas gestantes, que se puede hacer desde su casa, que son dueñas de su cuerpo y que el Estado no tiene por qué intervenir en sus decisiones, no tiene por qué intervenir en sus cuerpos. Se ha logrado con la ola verde, con la marea verde, que haya más redes de acompañamiento. Según lo que yo sé, México, y me siento orgullosa de eso, México tiene más, es el país que tiene más redes de toda América Latina. Entonces, eso me parece de verdad maravilloso, que las compañeras siempre han estado pues empujando ahí, ¿no? El poder comunicarnos entre nosotras, el quitar todas estas barreras que hay, que ni el idioma pueden eh, pues generar una barrera. Porque lo digo porque estamos acompañando a las mujeres de Estados Unidos, hemos acompañado a mujeres de Rusia, hemos acompañado a mujeres de Francia, de diferentes partes, y de verdad, el idioma no es una barrera, simplemente ponemos en nuestro celular, pues el traductor y listo. ¿Qué necesitas? ¿Cómo le hacemos? Y listo. Nosotros comenzamos a dar más a conocer lo que es la abortería, ya tenemos 7 años con Necesito Abortar y 6 años con la abortería. Y muchas mujeres que nos han conocido, tanto de Centroamérica como de Estados Unidos y de otras partes, nos preguntan que cómo le hacemos, que cómo fue posible. Y cuando se dan cuenta de lo que es la abortería, que es un espacio de nuestro hogar, que lo compartimos y que simplemente las mujeres pueden aquí estar tranquilas teniendo acceso a su aborto, se dan cuenta que en cada casa de nosotras hay una abortería. ¿Por qué? Pues porque si viene una amiga tuya, aunque tú no seas acompañante, y te dice, necesito abortar, no quiero estar sola, pues vente a mi casa, amiga, aquí la pasamos, vemos Netflix, o no sé, vemos una película o cualquier cosa. Y bueno, entre cosas no tan negativas, pero sí, al menos en México, lo que yo he observado, algunas compañeras o organizaciones creen que ellas solamente son la marea verde. Y no es así. La marea verde son todas aquellas mujeres y personas gestantes que han necesitado tener un aborto seguro, porque son ellas las importantes, son las luchadoras, son las que se van a enfrentar. ¿Nosotras qué? Nada. Las mareas verdes son ellas. Gracias.
Wow, that's so beautiful. Thank you, Sandra, for sharing that. We have about 4 minutes left in this panel, but I would like Danny to share a little bit. I'm going to combine two things. I want you to tell us a little bit about opportunities for innovation, but I want you to also leave us, and this is going to be for all four of you, like leave this group with some hope. What is one thing you are hopeful about? I feel like, I was going to ask you what you're worried about, but I feel like the energy of this panel has been one of hope. So let's talk about that. So Danny.
Muchas gracias, Rupan. Ay, bueno, creo que las oportunidades de innovación son infinitas. La verdad es que creo que el movimiento feminista, el movimiento pro aborto ha tomado todas las oportunidades posibles para poder dar ese acceso al aborto, lo que mencionaba hace rato, ¿no? Chatbots, apps, regresar a los métodos más tradicionales de promoción que lo hemos utilizado precisamente para poder llegar a comunidades lejanas, ¿no? Que no tienen acceso a Internet, regresar a los rótulos en las paredes, regresar a las lonas en todos los rincones, usar los teléfonos, usar el acompañamiento presencial por encima de los acompañamientos digitales. Hemos hecho de todo y creo que la imaginación que ha tenido el movimiento feminista y el movimiento pro aborto es asombrosa y siempre conmovedora, ¿no? Creo que las nuevas tecnologías, los classrooms, los Jamboards, los Mentimeters que estamos utilizando en estos momentos, todo lo utilizamos para poder facilitar acceso al aborto y para seguir formándonos como movimiento, ¿no? Que creo que es algo bien esencial. No perder de vista que necesitamos seguir formándonos, necesitamos estar actualizadas, necesitamos seguir promoviendo la investigación, necesitamos documentar lo que hacemos, necesitamos tener claridad de dónde estamos, por qué estamos aquí, dónde estamos ahora y hacia dónde queremos ir. Creo que tenemos deudas importantes también con las comunidades más vulneradas, con las personas migrantes que están en tránsito, con las personas que viven con alguna discapacidad, con las personas que hablan diversos idiomas y algunos, sobre todo comunidades indígenas, cómo podemos llevar el mensaje pro aborto sin irrumpir ni atacar sus usos, sus costumbres que ellos tienen para que podamos llegar más lejos, ¿no? Entonces creo que todas las voces son importantes y ahí es donde está la clave para seguir innovando, escucharnos entre todas nosotras, no centralizar los movimientos, eso se tiene que acabar, la centralización del movimiento tiene que terminar porque las voces que estamos a nivel local en las organizaciones de base, tenemos las narrativas directas de lo que está sucediendo con las personas que necesitan el acceso al aborto. No solamente hablar desde la medicina, desde lo legal, sino de quienes están viviendo sus abortos. Y eso es un aporte maravilloso de la Marea Verde. Es que por primera vez el movimiento de aborto está escuchando a las personas que están abortando. Y eso es algo que a mí me parece primordial. En cuanto a mis esperanzas, pues creo que ya las dije, las esperanzas son en las generaciones jóvenes, porque al final la Marea Verde llegó a donde ha llegado gracias a las generaciones jóvenes. Y eso es a mí lo que me da más orgullo y más esperanza, que este movimiento va para muchos años más.
Thank you, Danny. So we're kind of running out of time, but I have asked for a little grace that we can have a few more minutes in this panel because this panel is lit. So we will, the others, please, 30 seconds to give your final remarks in terms of what you're hopeful for, innovation. Try to keep it short. So Luna, go for it.
Oh, super challenging, but
I know.
I'm hopeful about intergenerational and multidirectional collaborations and solidarity. Transnational solidarity is something that we harness. We harness the power of connection to create the bridges between the partners across borders to overcome all the barriers to accessing contraception. And I think that people that can have safe accompanied abortions con acompañamientos amorosos también. They are the embodiment of the Marea Verde, and I'm hopeful for that and hopeful for this kind of dialogue. Thank you.
Thank you. And I think in your remarks earlier, you did highlight some of the innovations too. So that's great. Jen, what are you hopeful about? We work in innovation, so.
And I didn't really address it. You had asked me to address telemedicine and teleabortion opportunities. So this is where I'm going to talk about the hopeful for the ability to leverage technology and the fact that telemedicine and teleabortion is becoming more prominent and more accessible, but also ensuring that we include this patient-centered, person-centered model of care to bridge and to integrate more holistic self-care models within telemedicine. And I see a lot of potential for that. And that will slowly also change kind of the formal systems approach to understanding that self-managed abortion is not just completely self-managing on your own, but there's different parts of the abortion process that people still need support in it, and it can be integrated within the formal system. It doesn't have to be one system does this and the other system does this. And also with procedural abortions, it's a self-care for self-managed abortion is not just for medication, but for holistically the model. And self-managed abortion is one aspect of someone's choice when they're wanting to exercise their reproductive autonomy. So I have a lot of hope for using digital innovation to be able to bridge those different worlds.
Thank you, Jen. And Sandra, what are you hopeful for? We'll give our final remarks here before we close the panel.
Pues más que una esperanza, yo creo que es que todas las mujeres y personas gestantes ya están en la lucha y saben que no son ciudadanas de segunda y que ninguna ni ningún se quede atrás. Nadie.
Wow, amazing. This was a great opening panel. Thank you so much. I think there was a lot of comments and remarks here that really nicely fit into the next panel that James will be moderating. So applause to our panelists, and thank you so much for your insights.
Yes, I feel the same. It's a perfect connection to make here in talking about the opportunity of those 2 points. Opportunity of using telehealth solutions and also putting the power in people's hands who need it. And that last point of not leaving anyone behind from Sandra, I feel that that's a really, really important one to center in how we talk about this question. So our next panel, I'll just lay out the topic here. It's how can digital solutions play a role in strengthening the ecosystem of self-managed abortion? What are the challenges, benefits? What are the last mile distribution issues? What other considerations are at play? Just next slide to introduce my panelists. The first is Lucia Villavicencio, Senior Innovation Lead at Planned Parenthood Global. Lucia is the Senior Director for the Senior Innovation Officer at Planned Parenthood Global's IDEA Initiative, which is an initiative across Latin America to develop innovations and to bring the tech ecosystem, media ecosystem together around reproductive health. And I'm happy to have her as a colleague on this panel. Lindsay Burke is a director of regional programs at DKT Mexico. She's a feminist supply chain specialist in abortion doula who works across continents, across Africa and Central America for the past 20 years with a focus on registering mifepristone and misoprostol in highly restrictive markets. So she's an expert in sort of the technical components there. I'm so excited to have you here. Isabel Perez is the care team lead at Vitala Global Foundation. Isa is from Venezuela and a social psychologist and also MBA focusing on leadership in an effective and caring way. She is the lead of Aya Contigo's care team at Vitala Global, and she works with all of the caretakers and educators on that team to provide support to self-managed abortion seekers who are using that app. And Diana Moreno is Advocacy Director at Pro Familia in Colombia. She is a lawyer with degrees from Javeriana University and Columbia University and serves as Director of Advocacy there, dedicating her career to human and sexual reproductive rights and working with all sorts of partnerships in the region to make that work happen in Colombia and beyond. So we'll put everybody centered on spotlights and have everybody in this little space. I love seeing all of our faces together. I just want to invite you to turn on your cameras, Daniela, or not Daniela, Lucia, Lindsay, Isabel, and Diana. So it's not just me. Okay, Isa. Okay, it is so nice to see all of our lovely faces together and your smiles this morning. Thank you. I'm really excited to have this conversation, and I've set this up in different ways, just knowing your backgrounds and knowing the different points of view we bring here. So I have a little twist on this question for each of you. And Lucia, just to give us the broadest point of view about the tech ecosystem in Latin America, what can you tell us about the local innovators across Latin America and their connection to this space, both in reality, what you see, or the opportunities of what you see to support self-managed abortion?
Fantastic, James. Thank you so much. And hello, everyone. Yeah, well, this question, it's very interesting because when I was thinking about cross-border, this is not only a cross-border collaboration, but it's also cross-industry collaboration. It turns into that. What's happening in the tech industry in Latin America is that it's a brand new ecosystem. I mean, we do have examples of very successful tech innovations that had happened here in Latin America and that are growing. But are these tech innovations thinking about the problems of SRHR? Are they thinking about abortion? Are they thinking of self-care managed abortion? So that's something that Planned Parenthood Global is very good at doing, and it's centering the voices of the people who are going through the processes. I love what Daniela said, and I want to really reinforce that, because how do we truly apply the human-centered design models? It's really important, especially when it comes to thinking about technology and when it comes to thinking with working with the last mile distribution or last mile self-care or managed abortion. This is something that Planned Parenthood Global applies both in general in all of our models, but as well in our tech models that are starting to appear, right? We're doing a very interesting work in joining people from the tech industry and people who are working in the from the SRHR movement, specifically the Green Wave in Latin America, or our local partners. One of our mottos is locally led, globally connected. And I think this is where the listening to the voices of the people in the ground. And when this comes with technology, it's kind of a struggle, right? Because from whatever space we might come with solutions that we think, oh, this might work in this community, or we can use technology like this. But the important thing is to listen to the people on the ground. How are they using technology? What type of technology are they using? Is reaching them, and learning from them and working with them. Right now, what's going on in our movement is that there are amazing digital solution apps, right? So apps that will accompany your process, solutions that will guide you through a self-managed abortion. But what happens, or what we are seeing, is that this comes from different international organizations, which is fantastic because we do need these services provided. But what is being built on the ground? That's something that we're really working on and thinking about. You know, in Planned Parenthood Global, we back the brave. So that means hearing them out, understanding their space, and allowing them to build their own solutions, even if they're tech-based, or especially if they are tech-based. How do they understand technology, and where do they want it to grow, and how do they see a self-managed abortion incorporating technology? That's something that we need to listen from our partners. And that's the work that we have been doing with Planned Parenthood Global, and of course the ADA initiative, which is our innovation lab that it's centering in, joining these industries. So amazing things happening in tech. We're going slowly, but we're there, and we are for sure working on joining these two industries. And I think that that's where cross-border collaboration also does a fantastic job, because it's inspiring. If you see that in one country something is happening, then others are going to be like, oh, but I heard that in Mexico this has happened, and that the aborteria is going on, and that you are working with them. And we also want to do that. How can we do it? How can we implement it? How does it work for our local reality? And that's, using human-centered design, and which it gets tricky sometimes when you're thinking about technology, but it's definitely being done in the movement. So that will be my collaboration for now.
No, that's so interesting. And I think 2 points there are really important. It is making connections across industries. So helping find people who have technical ability or creative work, and connecting them to people in the movement, or people who have practical solutions, and making sure that the people collaborate. So collaboration is what I take away from your comments. I'm going to pass it to Isabel, who maybe can tell us a little bit about Haya Contigo's work in developing their product in Venezuela. So just to understand a little bit more about how the product was developed on the ground in Venezuela, who you worked with, and also what does that mean when you moved from the Venezuelan context into the United States?
Okay. I'm taking a note here also to the US. I'm gonna speak in English. Hi everyone, thank you for having me here as well. So I'm really proud of the work that we did in Venezuela, because I have been working with international organizations, and it sometimes can be a little bit difficult to really put in the center the experiences of the countries and the communities that the organizations are working with. And it hasn't been the case with Haya Contigo, because it was built with the communities themselves, and with the people who need the care and the support. it was a product of different interviews, a product of understanding the experiences of people who needed the abortions in a very restrictive setting. And it's a product that it's still adapting to the experiences of the people that are coming on a day-to-day basis, because we don't say that it's the product that we have is the final one. It's not going to change. No, it's evolving continuously, and that's what's beautiful about our involvement in the context itself. A lot has been said about being a bridge, and Aya is definitely a bridge in this ecosystem in Venezuela of abortion care by creating infrastructure. So we have this tool that enables a space for people to self-manage their abortion and stay connected with the different services that are available. That's the whole idea and the whole goal of the platform that is Aya. And bridging existing players is something that it's been said really easily, but it's something that it's more complex in reality, because we also take a lot of risks and we get our hands into the ground, and actually participate and are very open to be changed by what the context is also telling us that we should be doing. And our model of care, which is very similar to other models of care that are promoted in Latin America, which is not necessarily centering the person itself, but the connection that you have with the person. So recognizing myself as a person who is also giving care and centering that connection, because I'm not a robot. I'm not just gonna tell you all this information. I also have something to say, something to provide to your experience, and I also have a lot of experience. My experience can nurture yours, and yours can nurture mine. We have had so many different conversations that are beyond the book, beyond the protocols, and I think this flexibility has helped us in piloting Aya in the US, which we did this year. So we have a lot of protocols, a lot of ways of operating, but in reality, what has been successful for us is our ability to build a relationship with a person just by talking to that person, constructing a dialogue with that person and navigating with the person the different options that they have. It's what we are doing. I think I could say a lot more things about the process and the way we work, but it's centering the connection. That's what I want to highlight. That's why we are trying to bring in this different strategies if we're going to go to other countries as well.
And I will say, not so you, but having worked with Vitala for almost a year on this, on understanding how to bring your solution to the United States, you've actually taught me something new, which is centering the person, the humanity of the person that provides the care is actually a really important part of it, to create that connection, right? So understanding what it is to make yourself feel human to the person on the other side is really an important part of bridging the, whether it is the stigma or the fear, the emotional situation of the abortion seeker, and that's something that sounds like you're really doing well, or I know that you're doing well. So thank you for bringing that up and thinking about how that works in Latin America and in the United States, how it's something that is carried over as a practice, and that it comes from the community. So I think about the sort of the technical and the complexities that you said you're learning about in how to make those handoffs and partnerships happen. Lindsay, I want to turn to you to think about the restrictive settings or the opportunities for development of those channels of distribution and how organizations are working on getting pills in people's hands. What can you tell us about the current state of that and some of the opportunities there?
Yeah, so especially in Central America, there has never been a legally registered mifepristone. And to varying degrees, there's gastric or there's misoprostol registered for gastric indications in some Central American countries and not in others. This means that the flow of abortion pills more generally has been largely the informal or black markets, which has led to a really high cost of pills and also really challenging or really dangerous routes of access for feminist networks, or how pills are moving along those sorts of lines. So in my work with DKT, we've been working to register mifepristone for the first time in several countries. We just got Nicaragua last week, which is really exciting. And we got Guatemala about 5 months ago, and just got the first mifepristone into the first pharmaceutical chain in Guatemala. It's called Batres, if anyone's listening, that knows that chain. But that's quite a huge feat for a country where abortion is illegal for any reason. And I think a big key here to really developing our white market channels is really seeing mifepristone as being the gold star for any time that the uterus needs to be emptied. So seeing it as a gold star for miscarriage management, and really pivoting and turning it into a product that's used more generally for any reason. Because this gets everyone on board, even the anti-choicers, and doctors that are pro-choice, of course, are going to use it however they can read between the lines. You don't need to teach them how to use that for those indications. But the development of the white market then works to destigmatize abortion pills as well, for the other markets, for the feminist channels, and creates more openings for points of access in many different places, which overall is more healthy for the entire ecosystem. And to kind of tie this back into the conversation more generally, the way that tech has an important role to play in all of this is safe referrals to organizations and people doing this work that otherwise cannot do this sort of marketing or demand creation on their own. If somebody isn't in the know of the Whisper Network and happens to get the phone number of a safe feminist working in the Colectivo, or a doctor who quietly does this underneath the table, they simply don't get access. They're either forced to have a child, or they use unsavory or unsafe methods to get that, or they go to this informal seller that says, yeah, go ahead, take the mifepristone 1 week before you take 2 misoprostol a week later. It'll work. And so these are the sorts of challenges that we're actually facing here on the ground. And this is the exact space that services like Aya Contigo and can play, especially here in Guatemala, helping someone actually navigate their abortion with an informal seller, or refer them to a safe network to get pills with people that can actually do the accompaniment and support appropriately.
Yeah, that's such an interesting point, and I want to think about some of the informal or community-based things going on in terms of innovation. Diana, maybe you can share with us sort of briefly your concept of what's going on beyond tech and what's necessary in the community to innovate outside of digital solutions.
Thank you, James. Well, first of all, big shout out to all the colleagues who are talking today here, and thank you to Sarah for having us here. In Profomilia, we see digital tools as a way of communication, knowledge sharing, self-management, and collaboration between actors within an ecosystem. And I think it's interesting the idea of seeing abortion as an experience that is surrounded by an ecosystem that includes health professionals, pharmacists, civil society organizations, insurance companies, and of course women or pregnant people who require an abortion, which is different from what we were thinking some years ago around abortion as being just a health service that happened or occurred between a patient and a provider. I think that in that way, when we think about digital solutions, we can think about unlimited ways of connecting any of these actors and enhancing their work. In Profamilia, we have been using technology platforms to teach health professionals how to perform abortions, to have a system of support between health professionals, and also to provide or to bring information around abortion for people who are abortion seekers. In 2021, we created a system called MIA, a platform called MIA for abortion self-management online that since then has helped almost 7,800 people all around the country to have access. This system has proved to be self and cost efficient when providing abortion services and has been especially good for, this is interesting, in Colombia particularly, urban and young people who live in main cities and are between 18 and 28 years old. So while we believe this is a high potential in creating tools for access, we can also see how when we are going to have a real call-center approach, we need to keep in mind that different women and trans and non-binary folks are going to need different solutions. And some of those might need or will fit perfectly to digital solutions. Some of them can use mixed or hybrid ways of having access and information, and some of them will really need, let's say, analog support.
Yeah.
In contrast, I like, as we have seen, for example, in our case in Colombia, when it comes to access information and abortion pills through online platforms, it is younger, not adolescents or girls, but young women who are in big cities, the ones that can access the most to this technology. In contrast, many people who need an abortion do prefer direct human contact with health professionals to feel supported and safe. Some other folks, in a way, see reflected the gaps and difficulties that digital tools in general may have, right? So consider girls and adolescents who don't yet have devices of their own, poor homes in which women share devices with their families, so they don't have enough autonomy to be able to exchange around abortion information within those devices. People from communities whose language is underrepresented online, countries with significant internet access gaps, or people with disabilities who may struggle if the digital solutions not include broad accessibility measures in the first place. So with this I end. I don't want to get us discouraged. I think investing in digital support is a must in increasing information and access, but we also need to continue investing in non-digital channels and of course in hybrid ways of connecting the way that digital solutions engage with the rest of environment actors and channels.
Yeah. And I think I want to summarize just to clarify all of your really wonderful points. Is that we have to keep in mind the diverse kinds of people that might need an abortion in terms of their location. I think you mentioned very succinctly that the type of person that is an urban young person that has maybe their own device is not the only model that we should think about when we're thinking about who we provide care for. And this could be thinking about people of different demographics, of different, rural situations, people who have a shared device with another family member, and that it's important to make those connections with other forms of analog care in order to reach them as well and share those models. So just wanted to summarize that and invite us to think about some of those subjects in our breakout room, which we'll be hosting together if you're interested in talking about that subject. So thank you so much to this panel for setting us up and tying a nice neat bow on all of our points, because I think if anybody's interested in the many subjects that have come up, we'll be able to have a better conversation in breakout rooms together. So thank you to this panel.
Amazing. Thank you. So we are going to be heading into our breakout rooms. We are going to shorten them a little bit. They were supposed to be for 20 minutes, but we'll do about 15 minutes for the breakouts and come back to report back. So we have 4 sessions, 4 different breakout rooms. We ideally want to keep them at about 9 to 10 people. So when you're going to get to choose as the participants in this session today, which breakout room you want to be in. So just be mindful, you'll see. Room 1 is on building trust-based relationships with grassroots organizations and lessons learned on cross-border collaborations, which will be facilitated by Lucia and Daniela, who you heard from today. Room 2 is going to be learnings and considerations for safety, security, privacy, censorship, and digital solutions for self-managed abortion. Really excited to have Farah, Martha, and Melissa. Somebody, I think Luna had mentioned If When How, so this is a perfect place that you can go to and talk a little bit more about this. Farah is the Senior Counsel and Legal Director at If When How. Martha is Media Manager at Plan C Pills, but she also works on Women on Web. She works in various hats, and she's absolutely amazing in the digital space. And Melissa Medera, who is a special projects consultant, a partner to us as well at Vitala Global from Plan C Pills, and has a PhD and has worked in various ways in the abortion advocacy world. Next slide, please. Room 3 will be myself, James, and Diana Moreno, and we will be talking about applying human-centered design ethically to adapt a digital SRH solution to restrictive contexts. And in the plenary, which will have simultaneous translation, that's the only room that will have simultaneous translation in English and Spanish, is with Lindsay and Sandra, who you heard from today, and they will be speaking about abortion without borders, supply chain and distribution challenges for abortion pills, and imagining new strategies for last mile distribution. So we're going to go ahead and open up the breakout rooms, 9 to 11 participants, please, per room. And if we see there's more, we will move you to another room.
Lindsay, our other facilitator, should be in the plenary room, so I've just messaged Molly about that. Feel free to start when you guys are ready, Lindsay and Sandra.
Sandra, do you want me to go first? Is that okay? Okay, so here in Central America, I've been working with DKT on registering mifepristone and misoprostol. Mifepristone being the first registrations of mifepristone ever in Central America. And while developing this pill ecosystem and launching these pills on the market, I think it's really important to look at this in consideration of what the entire ecosystem is within each specific country in Central America. So this means that first of all, we have mifepristone and misoprostol legally registered in each FDA in Central America, adding legitimacy, especially to mifepristone, and especially registering them under OBGYN gynecological indications. The next step is also making sure that mifepristone and misoprostol are included in the official guidelines that govern gynecological uses within a country. Also that it's available in pharmaceutical points, and that there's a communication specifically around mifepristone and misoprostol as the gold star standard in use for miscarriage management and fetal demise, as well as elective abortion. That feminist networks, NGOs, and clinics all have quality pills at lower prices, and that there's a development of additional referral networks to feminist supply chains that allow us to increase volumes to help more people at the same time as basically being a better competition to informal networks and Black market sellers that maybe don't have a feminist approach to this work. So abortion pill demand. Guttmacher states that there's probably around 1.3 million miscarriages per year and 1.3 elective abortions per year. That's around the amount of volume or demand that we need to meet collectively if we're going to actually help more people access more services. Mifepristone and misoprostol registration strategy. In some countries, we're still using gastric indications if the country is more comfortable with those sorts of indications because of their anti-choice stance politically. In other countries, we're having more luck using missed abortion and other obstetric uses other than elective abortion, more miscarriage management and fetal demise, which is better for us because that means that doctors can actually prescribe for gynecological uses. Current registrations in Central America, we have Guatemala and Nicaragua currently under the brand name Ilfem, and mifepristone is going to be hitting the markets, the legal markets, in early 2024. For misoprostol, we currently have Nicaragua as well as El Salvador and Dominican Republic. We have active dossiers in the rest of the FDAs across Central America. Thank you.
Hola, pues me imagino que sigo yo, pero ahorita yo no pude escuchar la interpretación al español, entonces nada más quería saber si se estaba dando o no. Sí.
Sí, creo que ya tenemos interpretación disponible.
Ah, bueno, ok. Lo que estaba ahorita más o menos tratando de comprender, lo que había compartido mi compañera, pues todo cómo conseguir precisamente garantizada la mifepristona y el misoprostol en o sea, con calidad y todo en los países donde es ilegal. Bueno, conseguir mifepristona y mife y miso de calidad es algo que nosotras desde Necesito Abortar lo comenzamos a hacer casi creo que desde que se creó la red Necesito Abortar. Me acuerdo que con las primeras personas que hablamos fueron con DKT. ¿Por qué? Porque mi pensar era, sí, muy bien, brindar la información, el acompañamiento, pero ¿cómo le podemos hacer para que las mujeres tengan acceso pues a su medicamento, ¿no? Porque era algo complicado de conseguir. Hoy en día aquí en México no es tan complicado conseguir el misoprostol. Sin embargo, la mifepristona sí. Pero hemos visto la manera de conseguirlo de diferentes maneras Pero hablando de calidad, algo que tenemos bien claro y bien importante, que nosotros hemos conseguido, por ejemplo, el misoprostol de diferentes marcas. No solamente la que es la original, vaya, la de patente, porque es carísima. Tenemos que ver y partir de que las mujeres no todas pueden pagar los costos de ese medicamento. Entonces, es ahí donde nosotras nos hemos centrado. Creo que sí, es donde nos hemos centrado en que todas las personas gestantes y las mujeres puedan tener acceso al medicamento. Y a veces nos preguntan, oye, este misoprostol es genérico de una farmacia, pues que hay aquí donde dan los medicamentos muy económicos y ha funcionado. Tenemos 7 años trabajando con diferentes tipos de medicamentos y todos funcionan. Todas las marcas de misoprostol de todas las presentaciones son de 200 microgramos y según la Organización Mundial de la Salud, es un medicamento esencial y que no se debe restringir su venta. Nosotras lo que hacemos es decirle eso a las acompañadas, que eso se debe de hacer. Entiendo que hay países donde está totalmente restringido, lo sé, pero perdón, lo que estamos haciendo nosotras, al menos con Estados Unidos y algunas compañeras, es enviárselos a sus casas porque entendemos que no lo pueden conseguir y no importa dónde estén ellas. Hay otras mujeres que simplemente nos buscan para que podamos enviarles el medicamento, ¿no? Entonces, creo que esto es lo importante. Bueno, gracias.
Lindsay, will you guys need me to share the screen for the Jamboard session or we can transition to the activity now?
I think I just got it. The Jamboard up. Can everyone see?
Yes.
And you want me to take notes on this?
Yeah, the idea is to make an open discussion with the participants in the room and get their thoughts on the topic and just have it be interactive, and you can type in the notes on the screen.
Okay, does anyone want to jump in about how to get quality assured mifepristone and misoprostol into countries where abortion is illegal?
I suppose just thinking about ways to highlight its uses beyond abortion, just in terms of getting product accessible, just like in terms of stockpile and availability of resources.
Yeah. So I think it was interesting hearing what Sandra had to say, because she's speaking from the perspective of working within the networks, the accompaniment networks in Mexico, where the market has been much more built up over the years as a result of Mexico City policy and some other aspects that made pills more decriminalized. So there's a lot more brands on the market versus Central America, where there's a lot fewer brands on the market, and most of them are registered primarily for uses other than in obstetrics, which in some countries like Costa Rica creates more challenges for doctors to actually use the product. So stockpiling pills. This is something that's already happening, but what what brand are those and what kind of quality assurances do we have then?
And I think, Lindsay, you had a point about the differences between misoprostol and mifepristone, both in the way that they move in countries where abortion is legal. Taking into account that misoprostol used to be available in countries and maybe still is in most of the countries because it was primarily used for gastric issues, right? So like the way the questions around how misoprostol moves around a country might be different to mifepristone that is regularly more directly connected to abortion and therefore most of the time not even available or registered
Exactly.
in the first place.
But looking at countries like Costa Rica, there's no legally registered mifepristone or misoprostol, and there's nothing available in the CAHA. So how do we as feminists then ensure that there's product available in Costa Rica? Those are like the sorts of challenges that are facing this region anyway right now.
Una de las cosas que pasa mucho, al menos aquí en México, es que muchas personas de Estados Unidos vienen a México a comprar medicamento. Y no estoy hablando solamente de mifepristona y misoprostol, sino cualquier tipo de medicamento porque sale muy, muy económico. Entonces cruzan. Vemos y vimos esta cuestión y dijimos, bueno, ¿por qué no? Y empezamos nosotros, claro, a cruzar medicamento a Estados Unidos. Si ellas vienen, si nosotras vamos, ¿cuál es el problema? Se está llevando un medicamento que en el caso de nosotras lo llevamos de manera gratuita, pues la verdad es que no hay manera de que lo puedan conseguir más económico. Es de manera de verdad totalmente gratuita para las mujeres que lo necesitan en Estados Unidos y en Centroamérica. Entonces, creo que esa es una barrera que hay, pero también que es ese miedo que nosotras tenemos de decir, ¿cómo voy a pasar medicamento? Pero si vienen, o sea, y en Europa, por ejemplo, de las personas de Inglaterra van a España o de otras partes de Europa van a España porque los medicamentos son más económicos. Aquí cruzan de Estados Unidos a México a comprar los medicamentos, a tener sus consultas médicas, porque son más baratas.
That's a really good point, Sandra.
Thank you. I know our breakout rooms were short but sweet. So we're back in the main room, and I think we'll just take this opportunity to just like report back. So what I would like is maybe for each of the breakout rooms, like if you chose somebody to be the report back person, perhaps we can start with the first one, breakout room number 1. I think that one's on the building trust-based relationships. Who is your spokesperson to report back? We have sort of about 5 minutes left in this session, so I think about a minute and a half each.
Danny, do you want to go?
Okay. We speak a lot about the trust that has to be built between organizations. We were talking about the need of the local presence that could be a challenge for financing organizations. That's a very important part, sharing resources, not only financially, but also in training, but also in training financially, but human resources as well. Sharing experiences is a basic thing for making horizontal relationships that can be products to advancing the objectives that we have. We also talk about the data size transparency, data collection concerning the safety on the ground of people who are working in these kind of partnerships and relationships. We talk about bringing to the table important conversations regarding people who need the care, people who are providing care, people from tech that wants to support the work that we are doing. And obviously what we conclude in all this conversation is the importance of having trust between partners, be open, be transparent, and be willing to go forward in the goals that we have, but always in a horizontal relationship. I think that's the best of the conclusions that we have.
Amazing. Martha, Melissa, and Farah, would love for you guys to go. I'm going to give you a little bit more time. You have because 2 minutes, I think with the cybersecurity, I would love if you guys can kind of provide a bit of context too, because we didn't get into that as much in the panels. So I think it would be great just to quickly highlight a little bit of what you all are working on specifically, and then share what your group came up with. I love that. So who wants to start?
I can start just a little and then maybe pass to Martha. How about that? So one of the things that we talked about is the role the information plays, people's ability to access information that helps them to navigate risk, right? And so some of that can be digital and people's ability to even find information on the internet or to be able to navigate past misinformation. But some of it also has to do with stigma and people's understanding of the law and the interplay between stigma and people's interpretation of the law and how that can lead to criminalization, even in contexts in which there are no authorized criminal penalties for abortion seekers or people who support them. So with that, I will pass to Martha to talk a little bit about cybersecurity.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about how maybe it's not necessarily provided on their own will information often to the authorities, especially in the US, especially context, but they have collaborated massively. And we know how they built cases against people like Nebraska, for example. So it is a real concern, and people need to have the information they need when they make a decision. Not everybody faces the law in the same way. You know, some states are restricted, some groups are more recent than others. So people do need this kind of information. So we also talked about how we're all coming together, not only in the US, but throughout the world, because these are systematic issues, whether this is digital suppression of information or, like disinformation with fake clinics and so on, which are massively growing through the world, but also like surveillance and what is the role of big tech as well as governments in these. And as some of you know, we talked a little bit about this little coalition that we're building and how we will be launching. A lot of you have been in panels with us, including Vitala and Profamilia during the UN General Assembly. And yeah, how these issues needs to be addressed in a way that we can all bring awareness, continue education of what's going on with better equitable AIs, and also research. Also our friends at Amnesty have been very helpful in this. So yeah, I said it really fast, but if you're all interested in joining or talking more about this with us, please let us know. I put my email.
Thank you, Martha. Melissa, do you want to say any words based on your work with Plan C? I think it's worth the audience knowing a little bit about Plan C.
Yeah. So I just gave some very basic information about what Plan C does. So Plan C started in 2015 and provides information and resources on how to access abortion pills online and get them through the mail in all 50 states. So no matter where you are in the US, there is an option to access pills through the mail. And we, make sure that we provide people with resources for information like from If When How, so that they can have more of an understanding of any sort of legal ramifications that might come from accessing pills online. But we want people to know that our basic message is abortion pills are safe and effective, and you can access them anywhere that you live. And we want people to have all the information that they need so that they can get the abortion that they need when they need it. So that's what Plan C does.
Amazing. Thank you. So you definitely can check them out. If, when, how, plan, see, all the organizations that are represented here. Definitely. We have 3 minutes and the session is going to be strictly complete. So I'm going to have either Lindsay or Sandra speak about your breakout room, and then we'll do a final farewell and thank you.
No se escucha. Lindsay.
Stacy.
Yes.
Go for it.
We mainly
Sandra.
discussed in our session about the different potentials for stockpiling pills, and then the discussions around what different brands those would be and quality, and the fact that misoprostol is already readily available in most of the countries in Central America and Mexico, while mifepristone is still more restricted. And then Sandra, if you could speak about your experience with cross-border in Mexico.
Claro, nosotros lo que hicimos fue tratar de conseguir el medicamento donde sea, realmente así es, en farmacias. Hemos viajado pues a Europa para poder traer medicamento. Nos hemos movido porque sí es mucha la gente que ha llegado a necesito abortar y con las libres. Entonces nos tuvimos que agilizar. Y esto es algo bien importante de las cuales hablamos. De lo cual hablamos, y es que desde siempre han venido las personas de Estados Unidos a México a comprar los medicamentos porque les sale mucho más barato. Entonces, creo que eso es importante saber, que podemos realmente trabajar con eso, podemos cruzar medicamentos, no solamente a Estados Unidos, también a Centroamérica. Gracias. Sé que vamos con poco tiempo.
Yes. So just finally, thank you, everyone. This was so rich in terms of conversation. Special thanks to our organizers and speakers. We're going to be dropping in the chat right now to do a brief survey. So please do provide your feedback on this session. It was recorded, so please share it amongst your network. And here's listed all of our folks that were involved in getting this together. So thank you so much, and really looking forward to continuing this conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you so much to everyone.
Gracias.